Show it, man!
Okay, The Idiot returns. The show where the idiot, that is me, tries to find modern wrestling in 2022 and see if it's enjoyable. I don't know the storylines, I barely know most of the wrestlers, and these are my first time impressions watching your shows. Look, I'll be honest with you, I was all excited and motivated to delve into some modern wrestling and find something good for you all this week. And now I'm in an appalling mood and I want to rip someone apart. The heat wave sure isn't helping, but wrestling in 2022, Jesus Christ, it's getting worse since I started this series. I'm convinced that the geeks and nerds that are polluting the wrestling scene are going to drive the Hawk to a mental breakdown and make statements such as, put me in charge of Impact, I feel like it's my life's goal to try and save wrestling. The Hawk wants to save wrestling. That is why I've been put on this earth. Whilst we're not quite at that point yet, whilst we're on the subject of Impact, I would normally cover Impact, but I just can't do it anymore. Hopefully this ROH stuff will all blow over and they'll take a change of direction and then I'll be back. But that show is not aimed at me, so why watch it? In fact, I'm not sure who it's aimed at because it seems to be AEW light at this point. Talking of AEW, you're all going to be pleased to see that I'm covering Dynamite for once. I don't want to hear comments like, oh, why have you chosen a bad week to watch Dynamite on? That's not how it works. These are just the most recent shows from the companies. Also, we did Smackdown, which was the real cause for my rage this week. As you can see, on the whole, I've liked MLW the most so far. So as always, we're going to start out with MLW just because they won. It's a gold-covered lump of dog shit. Don't get me wrong, it's nothing groundbreaking, but I like that it just feels just about different enough. I like their roster and I like that they have exclusive contracts for their wrestlers. This show will finally feature the match between Hammerstone and Holiday. They've been feuding for what seems like months, and it is. We start off with a ladies match. It's Brittany Blake, who has hair that looks fake, taking on Zoe Sky. Never heard of either of them before. Sky dives with a dropkick right away. What a dick the ref is for ringing the bell. The commentary team say that Zoe is responsible for making women's wrestling what it is today. I have no idea who she is and I had no idea she was that important. Zoe Sky with another dive. This time it's the Wes Briscoe special, the piss in the wind. Blake misses her next move and she's given a backstabber. Blake wins a short match by tap out. I fail to see how Sky has changed women's wrestling. EJ Nduka, who has a lot of teeth, is here and he says he'll be watching the main event tonight. I thought he was going to chat up the interviewer, but he didn't bother. Don't be silly, Hawk, that'd be way too cool for wrestling in 2022. Men don't hit on women anymore, they can't be seen doing on that. They hit on themselves instead, hopefully in the gut. Now it's an advert for Ric Flair's final match in Crockett. Can't believe he's having a match. A wild slapnuts appears.
Double J, Jeff Jarrett.
The interviewer is with Holiday now and his girlfriend. Why do they have the same eyes? Are they secretly related? He talks about visiting Mexican pharmacies back in the day of Hammerstone to buy perks. Unfortunately, Holiday says this meant nothing to him. He cuts a good promo, then the girl starts telling him what she's going to do to him once he's won the title. Get out of room, you two. A match now is ACH taking on Matt Cross. I'm surprised Matt Cross isn't signed to AEW. After all, he is bald and has a beard. ACH seems like a fun-loving guy, and unfortunately he plays with the crowd for 10 seconds before putting on his deathlock, and by that time Matt Cross is literally on the ropes already. Nice try though. Matt Cross with a nice springboard crossbody, followed by a top rope stomp and a pump kick, just the two. We get the big news that MLW signed a TV deal with Sky TV in the UK, so there you go guys, that's pretty big. Cross wins it with a bounce off the ropes into the cutter, followed by a shooting star. It was fine, but it was nothing you won't see on AEW. A depressed looking Hammerstone is here to talk about his main event match. He tells Holiday his actions have consequences and when they meet in the ring tonight he'll realise that he is the consequence. A mysterious hooded figure is shown going into Holiday's locker room. Boom-ah-yay! Boom-ah-yay! The Fight Club threaten Davey Richards. They say he's a dog who they're going to take for a walk over New York. During the pre-match graphic it makes Richard Holiday look all stretched and warped like the big friendly giant. Richard Holiday has the worst theme music I've ever heard. It sounds like someone scraping a rusty pipe along a rusty trombone.
The anticipation has been building for months. The collision.
Holiday is wearing a bloody jacket covered in Hammerstone's blood. Change this awful music now. The crowd seem to be very happy to see Hammerstone. The referee for this one is the shiftiest looking ratbag I think I've ever seen. The MLW fans throw streamers at Hammerstone with happiness. Hammerstone beats Holiday up in the corner, but his follow-up attack is blocked and then his ears are boxed. Hammerstone isn't too hurt and he throws a big overhead belly to belly. Now they fight to the outside. Holiday tries to hide behind his girlfriend, which distracts Hammerstone. He hits a Russian leg sweep on the floor. In the ring, Holiday connects with a cab driver slam, He's in full control since the cheating. Holiday looks a bit like he has some serious problems. However, the pop-in professional finds a way back into the match and he hits a big German suplex. Holiday stops him with a kick to the nutsack and he hits an almost pedigree. Now Holiday's girlfriend takes the ref and Holiday uses a stiletto as a weapon. It's like we got back to the early 90s. That's just a 2. We get almost a ref bump and then Hammerstone picks his opponent up with the fireman and his legs hit the referee and he scurries out the ring like a rat. This is apparently a ref bump. It should be a 3, but no ref. Cesar Duran sends out a bent referee in a mask. Richard Holiday grabs a chair and the ref doesn't care. He hits Hammerstone in the gut twice and in the back. The commentary team take time to point out that it's a padded chair. Holiday sort of hits his finisher on the chair, but the rat referee makes the save. Holiday is scared of the rat referee. Just knock him out, you idiot. He wants to use the chair again, but Hammerstone grabs the chair and slowly raises his head as the crowd go nuts. Hammerstone now hawks up. A slap angers him further. Hammerstone beats up Holiday and the bent referee. Catatonic from Hammerstone, he wants to end it and he connects with the pendulum finisher, and that's the 3. Not sure why Holiday's girlfriend didn't stop the ref. So where does Hammerstone go now from here? He'll probably leave MLW. The show ends with a short clip which looks like it's from a horror film. And that's it. The show, as established, is way too short. No time for storylines, no time for promos or other junk. It's match, backstage promo, match, backstage promo, match. It's basic and it seemed better when they were doing Azteca Warfare. It's a 4 out of 10, there's no need to care. So I've recently heard that WWE were considering going back to the 14 rating and dropping PG. Then they backtracked and said, oh, not yet, but at some point. Do they need to do this? It sounds good on paper, but it isn't necessary. Let's find out. Michael Cole is still on commentary. He looks like an old badger with typhoid. We start with a man who has been world champion for 678 days, so he must be really good. It's Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman and his little gang. We've already had an advert break and literally nothing has happened. Reigns has a beard that's going grey, but he's apparently the future. The promo starts 10 minutes into the show. He acknowledges that he's getting a mixed reaction from the crowd. He talks about being rich. He then moves on to make fun of how Paul Heyman looks like he's a toad that swallowed too much lard. He asks Heyman to put his hands up and he shakes like he's got serious problems. Heyman is scared of his crew and says he loves them all. Heyman says they've got a real problem called Brock Lesnar. He then moves on to talk about things Brock Lesnar did 20 years back when people were actually watching this show. They will be having a last man standing match. Roman Reigns, who is apparently the main man in the WWE, has Heyman talk for him for 5 minutes. Apparently his promo ability isn't good enough. Heyman prays to Reigns on his knees. Austin Theory then scrambles out who has the Money in the Bank briefcase. He does a lap at the ring and then runs away. These are apparently mind games. This wasn't exactly impressive. The promo ends at 20 minutes into the show. Now we finally get a tag match. It's 2 men dressed as Vikings. Great, I shouldn't have bothered waiting. They take on Jinder Mahal, who has muscle, and Shanky, who doesn't. They are tag team partners who don't get on. Shanky is 7 foot and has a dancing gimmick. Within seconds, the Vikings double powerbomb Jinder Mahal, and the match went a total of 1 minute. The New Day make their way out and they want to talk to the Vikings. They make Simpsons jokes. Then they show their asses and say that as everyone can still see their asses, they haven't been beat enough yet. I wish Sonny Siaki was here. They have 2 tickets to kick the Vikings' asses. They rush the ring, but they get beaten up for about 20 seconds. The Vikings have good power moves, but they have the charisma of a damp rag up your girl's leg when she hears the Hawk talk. Gunther now with an open challenge for his IC title. He has a red coat and nothing interesting to say. The man who will challenge is Nakamura. Corbin and some other guy are rolling around on the commentary desk and screaming for some reason. Can you imagine trying to justify liking this to an adult friend? So far, 30 minutes into the show and not a single cool person has appeared. Nakamura cuts a bad promo and then for some reason he'll face the other guy and not Gunther. This guy is called Kaiser and he looks like a young Douglas Williams. Nakamura wins a 3-minute match with a kick. Gunther yells at his friend after the match, I guess for losing in 3 minutes. Then he chops him as a punishment for losing. So it's a Raven in TNA gimmick. The crowd chant one more time. Someone in the crowd is loudly chanting boring. Gunther really needs to hit the weights in the gym if we're to take him seriously as a monster. 42 minutes into the show, Liv Morgan makes her way out. I'm sort of familiar with her. I think she's like this generation's Trish Stratus because she's hot and can wrestle both to a decent degree. Seeing her has at least piqued my interest. She'll be interviewed by the disease-infested Badger. The crowd chant, you deserve it, because she's got the belt now. She pretends she's going to cry. Michael Cole informs us that she recently beat Ronda Rousey to claim that belt. He goes on to tell us her hard life story about how she had to be a waitress before wrestling. Wow, really scraping the barrel now. We got people in Afghanistan, people going to jail, and she was a waitress. She doesn't look that old either, so what was it, like a part-time summer job? She's interrupted by... What the hell? Is that Natalya? What the hell's happened to her? And why does her voice sound like that? She wasn't like this before. What's happened to that mouth? It's been stretched across her head. For anyone who has her on Instagram, the power of editing your photos here to see. She says she enjoyed Liv beating Ronda Rousey, which brings that very woman out. The winner of Season 1 Ring of the Hawk congratulates Liv and they get rid of Natalya. Liv is very popular with the crowd. This is then turned into a match between Ronda Rousey and Natalya. Rousey will fight this one in leggings, which keep almost falling down, which would usually be a highlight if it wasn't Ronda Rousey. She has the ankle lock on for a bit, but Natalya fights it off, so Ronda simply throws her overhead of a suplex. Ronda Rousey puts on a grapevine ankle lock and Natalya taps. Another match that went 3 minutes. How can anyone claim this is better wrestling than anything from any other era? Nothing's happening, constant recaps, geeks, no stars, and the show is almost over already. Drew McDonald with a backstage interview now talking about his potential opponents. It seems like he was supposed to insert jokes about his opponents during his promo, but instead it went a bit like this.
It could be Brock Lesnar. It could be Roman Reigns. It could be Austin Theory.
Zero entertainment was found here, and his catchphrase is 1, 2, 3, boom. Someone seriously needs to help this show. Eli Drake is here, who is doing a modelling gimmick, and he talks about Wimbledon. The Hawk hates tennis. He is apparently French now. A model now walks out who I think used to be of Carmelo Hayes. I guess they've broken up. I'd be so embarrassed if someone walked in and found me watching this. Drake announces the model has 20-inch biceps, which are literally non-existent. I just don't get it. Why is this still going on? Why have they made Eli Drake effeminate? This guy had charisma like The Rock and now he's doing this. Another man will come out to pose now. He stands there for ages. I just don't get it. This isn't funny. This isn't cool. This isn't edgy. Why can't they do this with women models? Aren't most of the demographic who watch this men? Am I missing the point? I'm sorry, but I'm losing brain cells by the second. This is honestly the worst TV segment I've ever seen. I've made it through an hour, and that's enough of this show. Actually, screw that. People will just moan in the comments and call me lazy. You people just don't get it. I'm embarrassed to be watching this. There's no one else in the room with me. The model thing goes on for 7 minutes with nothing happening. When Rick Martel did this, he looked impressive, but these are just average guys in tight-fitted clothing. What am I even saying? This show needs a testosterone shot to the ass. Austin Theory brags about having the briefcase. Another man said he'd love to take it from him. No idea who he was and no name was given. Aaliyah is here now, who is smoking hot. Unfortunately, no one else involved in this match will be. At least it makes her stand out more, I guess. Like at a wedding when the bridesmaids are forced to wear those potato sacks. One girl does her entrance 3 times because she was unhappy with the reaction from the crowd. She looks like she eats farts for dinner. She now has a microphone and complains about the fan reaction she got. She says, "Don't you know who I am?" No, I haven't got a clue, love. Shut up and hurry up so I can finish watching this turd fest. She keeps talking about all her struggles. Come on, it can't be that bad. Liv Morgan had to be a waitress. I'd like to see her top that. She calls the crowd fat and boring in an emotionless, whiny voice. This promo's still going on, so I'm fast forwarding. She hits her own teammate, so I guess we won't be having a match after all, because this is a heel turn. The Usos will square off now against 2 jobbers who don't get an entrance, and they are called Los Lethargicos. They throw the Usos out the ring, and both teams want to hit dives, and they run around in circles. Oh, I remember this guy from TNA, Garza Jr., I think. One of the Usos does a Samoan drop, which I should be okay with. It just doesn't look good. Garza springs out of the ring into kicks. The Usos win with a 3D. Why is that their finisher? Another 2-minute match. I'm going to take a 2-minute turd. It turns out the guy's shoulders were up, so it shouldn't have counted anyway. The Usos say that's not our fault, that's the referee's fault. Well, yeah, he's right. Thank you, Captain Obvious. This is apparently a heel move, even though the referee made the decision that it was over. The Usos promo is interrupted by Drew McDonald with a sword. Unfortunately, he doesn't smash anyone with it because he will have a match against Sheamus and his Irish thugs. They look like a cartoon version of Oliver Twist. Sheamus reveals that the winner tonight will be going to some pointless pay-per-view in Wales to challenge for the title. Sheamus is sick or something, so instead he sends one of his little thugs after McDonald. So if the winner of this gets a title shot in Wales, it begs the question, why is Sheamus letting one of his little thugs fight the match for him? Doesn't he want the title shot? Because this little guy has never beaten Drew McDonald. And I'm correct, because 2 minutes later, McDonald wins. What a bunch of geeks. I'm never watching this show again. This show felt like it had estrogen implants because I've never seen such a bunch of boring pussies. Then the only good bit of the show happens. McDonald wants to hit Sheamus with his sword, but he misses and smashes the top rope. He bends the sword and then fireworks go off. What a strange ending. I can't say anything positive about this show, I'm sorry, but I can't. A 0 out of 10, there wasn't even any wrestling. For anyone who thinks I'm just trying to be edgy or elderly or something, this completely sucks, and WCW at its worst is still far better than this. I challenge anyone with this mentality. Go watch this Smackdown and then watch literally any show from 98 to 2005 and tell me this modern wrestling is better than that. This is the drizzling shits. It sucked Sonny Siaki's ass and I hated it. I went to the gym straight after this and my bench press decreased below 300. On a Monday. The New Day summed this show up perfectly. This show is ass. Alright, hopefully a quick pick-me-up now. It's not that recent, but let's check out AAA Triple Mania from last month. I'm not going to do the whole pay-per-view as I only have so much time, but from what I understand there's a couple of interesting things you might want to see. Now, as much as the Hawk loves Mexico, I don't know if I can recommend this show as they don't seem to have a weekly TV show with English broadcast. If they did, it could be a threat to some of the smaller US companies, so it seems like a misstep. Dear AAA, hire the Hawk to do your English commentary. It is a massive missed opportunity. Is this a football stadium? They've made it look like a big deal with the army, planes and a big flag and stadium. Shame it's half full. The show instantly gets better than any show I've seen today because there's actually women and vicious dogs that threaten to tear the ring up. And guess what? These girls actually have the purpose of being attractive and entertaining the male audience. This is apparently old-fashioned and against the rules in the Western world in 2022. In the middle of the card, we've got a cruiserweight match between Fenix, Laredo Kid, Taurus, Vikingo and Bandido. So it's really the best luchadors in wrestling today. And I know I normally wouldn't go for this sort of thing, but I want to see more from Vikingo, who's impressed me in MLW. Laredo kills Taurus for a bit before Vikingo is finally in the ring for the first time. He's absolutely rapid as he flies around the ring with springboards. Surprisingly, he catches a dive. It looks weird and he slams Fenix. Jesus, look at this front flip into Hurricanrana from the top. In reality, I just have no idea what to call this stuff. It's my first time seeing it. He jumps from one rope to the other to the outside, but he catches a rope to the gut in the middle of it. That's going to leave a bruise the next day. He follows that up with a similar move to Kenny Omega's thing. That gets him a 2. Taurus is the man to finally shut him down for Power Slam. Taurus now have a crucifix bomb followed by a Samoan drop. You know, I hate it when some guys use the Samoan drop. It should just be safe for Samoans and fat guys, and Taurus is neither. Bandido also has some pretty flashy offense. Fenix hits like a million cutters, but it's not enough to beat anyone. It starts getting a bit crazy for a bit as they all fight on the ramp. Vikingo spikes Laredo on the ramp with a reverse Rana, and then he just jumps off the ramp with a head scissors. He isn't even done and he charges in the ring to hit a 630. He really does things I've not seen before. It's somehow still not over though. He's shut down when Laredo runs off Taurus back and sends Vikingo out the ring with a head scissors. Crazy stuff in this match. For some stupid reason there's no replays though. You'd think they'd want to show replays of this stuff. Love this body press by Taurus on Vikingo on the top rope, but believe it or not, that isn't the free either. They do this electric chair spot now which ends with what looks like a broken neck. Insane stuff. Vikingo hits another 630, but the pin's broken up by a frog splash. Moments later, Fenix wins it with a double stomp. That was an insane match and it was great seeing Vikingo again. He was described on commentary as the star of AAA, so big things expected of him in the future. Sorry, we went off on a tangent a bit there, but I'm not grading this because it's a pay-per-view and I didn't watch the whole thing. I just wanted you to all be aware of Vikingo, even if he needs a haircut. Now we've just got AEW to do, and to be honest, Adam Cole could take a dump in the ring and have a match doing flips, kicks and cartwheels around the turd pile and it would still be better than what I witnessed on Smackdown. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to AEW. And I know people are going to moan about it, so guess what? We're actually watching Dynamite for a change. We start straight off with a TNT title match. Orange Cassidy with his little friends will take on the champion Wardlow. The first thing that surprised me is Orange Cassidy is almost the same size as Wardlow. He hates Orange Cassidy's gimmick, so he tears his pockets off. Cassidy responds by putting his straps back up. Now the match will start. Cassidy does a head scissors which Wardlow cartwheels out of. One of Cassidy's friends has a chainsaw. I think someone's been watching too much NWA TNA. The friends are ejected from ringside. Cassidy is annoying Wardlow with his feet kicking thing. Wardlow's nappy is full of dump because he just can't hurt or damage Cassidy. Wardlow finds Danhausen under the ring for some reason. This distraction gives Cassidy an opening which only lasts 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, because he's caught and suplexed out of his pockets. We actually get what resembles a match from now. Cassidy keeps doing surprisingly well. He fights off every single powerbomb attempt and even hits a bunch of DDTs. It's just a 1 count for everything though. Eventually Wardlow hits the F10. For some reason, Orange Cassidy is apparently the first person to ever kick out of that move. Cassidy now with another big comeback until his diving DDT is caught, but once again Cassidy fights him away with a cutter. He follows that with the beach break and Wardlow is almost dead. Seconds later, Orange Cassidy is caught and powerbombed for the 3 out of nowhere. Genuinely enjoyed that more than anything on Smackdown, and I've always been a fan of David and Goliath type matches. Wardlow shows him respect to end that segment. Chris Jericho makes an appearance now, at least he looks like a star. The crowd sing his theme song, which seems to make him happy. He says tonight he's the living legend, which makes Larry Zbyszko grit his teeth and dump in his nappy at home. He's here to make fun of Eddie Kingston. Jericho calls him a stupid son of a bitch. We go with some internet call-outs now. Jericho reveals they'll be having a barbed wire match because Kingston is a mark for Terry Funk. Jericho is not scared of barbed wire because he had a barbed wire match sometime in his 20s. It's a good promo hyping up the barbed wire match next week, it should be good. Kingston responds backstage. He has always been a good promo to be fair. A match now is Takeshita, who looks like he's dying, versus Jon Moxley. His face colour has really improved since the couple of months ago I watched AEW, so fair play, I'm glad his detox is going well. He still looks like an Easter egg though. The Moxley pile driver doesn't get him the 3. Moxley tries another one on the man with the bun on the apron, but he can't manage it. Instead, he's German suplexed on the apron. Knowing literally nothing about Takeshita, I was surprised by how damn competitive and good this match was. He keeps kicking out, and despite being bloodied and having his ass booted most of the match, he still stays in it. He does get a brief comeback with a dive to the outside, but ultimately Jon Moxley wins a good match. Someone who I do know is up next is Christian Cage, who's still using his TNA theme song. Then it all goes dark and Luchasaurus makes his way out. What a weird pairing of people. Cage is here to talk about the Varsity Blondes. Christian talks about Brian Pillman Sr. and says he never won world titles like Christian did. They put a dumb looking person of the other person up on the Titantron and then Christian compares him to Jungle Boy. This leads us into a match with the Luchasaurus taking on a guy called Griff Garrison. It's just a squash match because the Luchasaurus hits 2 choke slams and a tap out win. Then they all beat up Pillman Jr. and they choke slam them together on the table, but it doesn't break, so he does it again, and now it breaks. Tony Schiavone with 3 wacky men now. They pull a comb on Schiavone and then they leave. The other guy is threatening someone called Wheeler Yuta. Schiavone is so wide that he makes the guy look small. The Shove Man now has an interview with a different 3 geeks. So many generic wrestlers on this show. Now Jim Ross makes his way out to do commentary. Jack Hager is having a match. It's been a long time since I've seen good old Swagger. He takes on Cesaro, who gets a quick handshake from Regal. I didn't realise that Cesaro did the 619. They're pretty even in this match. Swagger is the first guy to almost win with the splash. Cesaro comes back with a nice springboard corkscrew uppercut. He smashes Swagger all over the arena. The diving crossbody gets him a 2. Cesaro gets the submission on and Swagger panics and calls for those boys to run out. They don't actually do anything but distract him. Swagger almost gets the win when he turns around. The geeks on the outside do get a bit more involved now, but it doesn't matter because Cesaro throws Swagger into the air and hits an uppercut. Then he puts him away with the power bomb. Swagger should just do UFC full time. He's still a charisma black hole, but Cesaro seems like a good fit in AEW. One of Taz's sons is interviewed now, but he's too scared to say anything and he just walks off. 4 girls get interviewed backstage. I only know who one of them is, it's Thunder Rosa. They are here to make small talk about the weather, and it is bloody hot. I don't know about you guys, but I'm burning up in this office. Now they make inside jokes about sandbagging and carrying each other. The women's match will be Serena Deeb taking on Anna Jay, who gets a big crowd reaction. She's a lady who I think most people would want to get behind. Serena Deeb looks like she's won with the Fisherman's Buster, but she hasn't. She fights back with a Northern Light suplex for a 2 count. Then it gets really stupid as they reverse the backslide for about 10 seconds over and over again. It looks so fake. Then they botch. They try to improve for a bit and then Anna Jay almost wins with the Queef Slayer. Moments later, Serena Deeb taps her out with an almost half Boston. This is the problem with wrestling nowadays. You're trying to do too much. You're trying to keep up with the rest of the people on the roster when you're not good enough. Just have a more basic match and it'll look better. A person who looks like Mickie James got hit by a car and then sat at home for 6 months eating runs her off. Not a good match. In the back, Jade Cargill tells Schiavone to cut the shit. Kiera Hogan has beef with the other lady. Jay Lethal is here now and Sonjay Dutt's with him and they threaten Samoa Joe for an ROH match. Why do other companies keep having to feature? I hate this. It stops making wrestlers feel special when they keep hopping around the companies as much as they want. Up next, it's the main event. It's a 3-way for the tag titles. It'll be Taz's sons taking on a team called Swerve. A lady in the crowd really loves his music, and he teams with Keith Lee. And the champions are the Young Bucks. We get a gymnastics display for a while, and it ends with double drop kicks on the outside. This match is so dumb. A double rope walk with an argument going on in the centre of the rope. Not for me, it's just too fake and geeky. Keith Lee and Swerve win with a double foot stomp. So I guess they've got new tag team champions. Okay, so that was better than Raw still, despite what I just said. But as usual, it's nothing remarkable in AEW. I think I've seen enough of AEW by now to form a fair assessment. They're a really consistent company with their shows. They usually have more wrestling than storylines. The wrestling varies from really good to the fakest stuff you'll ever see. I enjoyed that Moxley match, I have to say, and Jericho's promo is good too. Not much else to really talk about, unfortunately. But I enjoyed a few things and it took me back 10 years. AEW Dynamite gets a 5 out of 10. Now I know on the Idiot series I'd normally review more shows than this, but it's so hot and I can't stomach watching any more bad wrestling. So as I continue to work on my mission objective, does good wrestling exist in 2022? The answer after doing 5 of these episodes seems to be a resounding no. And if you don't agree with that, I'll make you wear a dunce hat.